Good afternoon. 2nd of January. And I'm wearing my festive colors with my holiday tradition. And black and red is not really, it's my own tradition after all. I did this video. The first attempt was the last day of the 2019. New Year's Eve. I attempted to do this video at that time and didn't do a voice check. I didn't go down my checklist of working on lighting, check the microphone, listen that it's on, number one. I had it too close to my vocal cords and it mumbled. And another brilliant session lost to posterity. Anyway, I did a sound check today, so we're all good to go. I'm fortunate enough to have a handful of people that usually come to seek me out at the end of the year, looking for any advice that I might have for them. And I work best with small groups and specific requests. I'm hoping that these sharings can reach a more general audience, but that remains to be seen. So far, after more than 2 years and 200 plus half-hour videos, my audience hasn't grown much. And I'm okay with that because what will be, will be. But anyway, as I said, a handful of people seek me out at the year end. We have kind of a tradition and a custom to review the year, to look for trends, to look towards, but mainly it's about reflecting on the year that's passed. And then we quickly switch modes to welcoming the new year and all the opportunities it brings for betterment. We can always do better after all. And it's the drive to do better, to understand more, to practice more self-mastery. All these drives. And interesting, a couple came to me and I spoke with them separately. And I'm usually inspired by their aura, by their presence, by just being with them. I'm pretty much channel the message. I reach inwards, which leads to outwards. And am able to sort out specific, custom, tailored I hesitate to say advice, but suggestions about that. And both of them, this couple, I spoke to them privately, and the major issue with both of them was similar about, I began by asking them, do you like yourself? And a pause at this question. You can ask yourself. I'll ask myself, do I like myself? Very much so. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable with my foibles, with my idiosyncrasies, with my shortcomings, as well as my strengths. 100% at ease. So that first I spoke to was the better half, the female half. And she paused and I said, this is what you need to work on. This is the most important thing. You can't proceed any farther until you're at ease with yourself, comfortable in your own skin. And this process, like all other processes, begins with examination, scrutiny, unbridled, non-prudential, not judgmental examination of oneself. And first of all, we can always do better, no matter who we are, at what stage we're in. We can always do better. That's the beauty of living for another day. Provides an opportunity to do better. But the process, so this examination, this clear insightful evaluation oneself. And once you have the litany of things that you're uncomfortable about, once you put a face to the fears, then you can begin the process, which always begins with forgiveness. As in any other pursuit, it seemingly selfishly has to begin with oneself. But when you see that the key to oneself is a passage to all the other selves, to the infinite, to the love, all embracing love and light that is the essence of being for one and all. So you forgive yourself. I've very seldom found anybody that no one advised me to forgive myself. I just found it necessary in the process. So, forgiveness for oneself. You can't truly forgive anything or anyone else until you're at peace with yourself, until you have forgiven yourself. And the other part of forgiveness is forgetting. And by forgetting, I don't mean I can't remember. Because you don't want to erase your memory. It's a valuable tool. It has further use. It's a tool that you want to hone. Improve your memory. But just don't be selective about what you remember. Don't waste your time on the negative. So forgetting. And this is what I teach, mindful forgetting. At first it takes an effort. And by forgetting, I really mean let it go. Forgiveness, let it go. Turn it over to the violet consuming flame. The same tool that I utilize to burn my daily necessary accumulation of karma, just that comes by simply breathing in and breathing out. By simply being, karma is accumulated. And you need to process this. You need to learn how to burn it. And I surrender to a violet consuming flame that's so hot, yet so hot that it vaporizes. Yet, if the flame was in front of me, I would have no fear to stick my hand within it. This sacred, incomprehensible tool burns hot to vaporize, but still can be touched. So there's no fear of being close to it. It gives off no heat. It gives off nothing. Truly vaporizing. So this letting it go means giving it up to the flame. And however you see it, I'm just sharing with you the tool that I use. The tool that I'm able to express in the mastery of words that I may have. The mastery of concepts, the mastery of ideas, the mastery of imagination. And I'm certain that even though there is some type of universalism in some of these things, the violet consuming flame is certainly not mine. It was shared with me, and it's got a ageless tradition. So the form doesn't matter. However you choose to dispose of this karma. And this letting it go. Letting it go means surrender to the violet consuming flames. As it becomes ember, as it becomes dust, as it becomes a vacuum of emptiness, vaporized. Now what you're forgetting is the judgment that went along with the recognition of this event or behavior or shortcoming, however you want to couch it. You don't want to carry it any longer. As I've said many times before, the bag of shit, which is regrets, the conditional tense, should have, could have, would have, if only, all these kind of pissing into the wind for all the good they do you. Worrying, it's another destructive way to spend time. Let it go. This 200-pound bag of, I used to say 100, but I upped the ante. This 200-pound bag of shit that you carry that weights you down. Stop along your path. Check out your stepping stones, or however you visualize steps, trail, up the mountain. Put the bag down. This is letting it go. Throw the bag in the violet consuming flame. Let nature, its finest, take care of it. The nature that nurtures us, that feeds, that clothes, that protects, that provides. Give it up. Let it go. Now the best part of letting it go is that the positive, the lessons learned, we're not letting those go. Those become part and parcel of who we are. It's incorporated. Becomes just as water in a container is water. You put it, you drink the water, it becomes part of you, doesn't it? So too are lessons learned. Because these lessons learned are part of the process of refining information to knowledge with the end game, the ultimate nugget of wisdom, the jewel, everything that is precious. For me, nothing's more precious than wisdom. And wisdom is the Dharma, is the teachings, after all. And the interesting thing is that we can share information verbally. We can write it, we can speak it. That's verbal, isn't it? Yeah, we can share information. We can even share knowledge. Hopefully this is what I did is 20-something years as a university instructor, teaching thousands of kids. Hopefully that was sharing knowledge. Certainly sharing information, but teaching to take that a step further, to refine it, to mine it, to pan for gold. And then we get to the nitty-gritty. We get to the heart of the matter. And it's interesting to say heart, because bear with me. The kernel, this solid gold, this wisdom, that's more precious than diamonds or emeralds, or my favorite, sapphires. I love that blue. Although the red of emerald, it's nothing to sneeze at, is it? I see the red. I'm not wearing blue, I'm wearing red. Well, that's not completely true. My pants are blue. I'm never too far away from blue. I venture into reds and greens, but I'm digressing. This wisdom can't be captured, can't be limited, can't be caught, can't be contained in verbiage, in words. You can hint towards it, you can point towards it, but it's not communicable verbally. Can't write it down. So how do you teach? How do you depart wisdom? How do you share your wisdom? Well, we're back to the process of these two people that came to me. We caught up with the wife, and how I said, first step, to learn to like yourself. Second step, how to forgive yourself. Third step, what to do with the thoughts and feelings and emotions and evaluation and self-deprecation, limitations, that these things that are keeping you from liking yourself, that you're holding on to. Let go of the conditional coulda, shoulda, woulda. Let go of if only. There's nothing more vain than to say if only. Like that could right the wrong? I think not. So this process, forgiving and mindful forgetting that which no longer serves you, while holding on as long as you need to lessons learned. Eventually, like everything else, they get discarded at a certain point. So again, here we are. And that's really the point of today. And before I get into the point, let's finish the male half, okay? It's only fair. Now, the first thing I say to the male half is, as I always do, just breathe. I am breathing, I'm doing so much better, blah, blah, blah. It's always immediate noise. But the truth be known, he forgets to breathe. Breathe causes panic. Panic settles into fears. And nameless fears are probably our biggest challenge. When we have a fear of heights, fear of snakes, fear of rejection, fear of people, fear of germs, fear of disease, fear of dying, we can define that. But what about undefinable fears? Well, probably more insidious. Takes more effort to rid yourself of fears. But this process of forgiveness, constructive mindful forgetfulness, which includes letting it go, surrendering to the violet consuming flame, so it's burnt to nothingness. So it will never burden you again. And the next step is to rid the fears, to rid yourself of fear. And fear of death, obviously, for most of us is the big one. Once you're no longer afraid of the concept of dying, once you understand that we never die, that we're infinite, the ego dies, but that's a necessary death. That's a death that you should celebrate, and at some point you will. You won't miss it at all. And it'll raise its ugly head. The spiritual ego, when you well onto the path. For me, even after I had an abiding awakening, after many experiences with non-abiding, non-permanent awakening, the final awakening, which there's no going back. You can't go back to sleep once you've had an abiding awakening. There's still work to do. Don't get smug. But this spiritual ego, for me, it rose at this time. How special I was. I'm in the company of the Buddhas, which I was. But this was tempered by my understanding of ordinariness, how ordinary my condition. It was not extraordinary in any way, because seeing myself as special, which I did, I admit that I did. I battled with this. It took me a year to recognize that it's not something that I wanted to live with, a sense of superiority, because that includes judgment, doesn't it? And judgment has to be discarded, surrendered to the violet consuming flame with all the other garbage. So, when you embrace ordinariness, when you see that the natural condition of all of us is to be wakeful, full participants, full and equal participants in this joyous celebration of being, of life. So anyway, the ego goes. But we're talking about the fears, fear of death. If you face this one and you understand that only things that are impermanent pass on, but they don't really pass on. When our body dies, it becomes the minerals and the food and the life of the beings and plants around us. We become the topsoil, don't we? I want to go in flames, so maybe I become part of the atmosphere instead of the topsoil. I'd like to jump into the violet consuming flame when it's time to leave my body. But I don't think this is in the purview. I haven't experienced this to be in the purview of the violet consuming flame. But this death, You celebrate death instead of fear death. Death of the ego, death of of emotions, of clinging, of materialism, of desires. Even the desire to be enlightened will be surrendered. Even the process, the steps that you think you're taking towards enlightenment are seen as unnecessary because the natural condition is to be awake, to be fully awake. When you remember what you've forgotten, what you've forgotten is what you've always known. We come into this world and we're, I think, blessed with forgetfulness. We don't bring the weight, the full weight. We don't have a complete understanding of our past lives. We don't have a complete understanding of karma because I think it could be very overwhelming for most of us. So I gave them a simple project. My friend who never breathes, who immediately responds, "Oh, I'm so much better now." Maybe that's optimism, I don't know. I admire his spirit, but I look to his other half and I get a little frowny face. So maybe we haven't done as well as we would like to think that we have done. But it doesn't hurt to have a reminder. So I started off with breathing for him and went in then to what I have worked with his wife about is, do you like yourself? In the same pause, in the same hesitation. And he's more of an optimistic, well, yes, that's so. We could always be better. But the point is to be okay with what and where we are at that point in time. So this is my project. There's a good year's work there at least, I think his breathing will be ongoing as long as he's alive. He needs to be reminded. And I think he's gotten to the point where he reminds himself, just breathe. Simple, but maybe not so simple. He hasn't ever gotten it to the point where it becomes second nature. Just as meditation, just as equanimity. I'm in a constant state of meditation 24/7 without consciously thinking or sitting or concentrating or any of the things that we're taught that meditation means. But this 24/7 with meditative state, this constant state of equanimity, which was on the process of reaching, on my process, I was gifted with equanimity. And I always sought clarity, but I was gifted. It was deemed most appropriate by my two Buddhas for me to grasp equanimity. And then I had further work to do on compassion, as I shared recently. So, see, there's always something to do. Well, my big point in all of this was, how do we share accumulated wisdom, gifted? Didn't come from me. But what I refined, what I understood, was that with some work, with the use of the tool of the mind, to find a constructive, useful tool, a useful way to utilize the brain instead of torture, instead of the monkey mind, to find, sort, evaluate, store, file and store, and then practice on accessing. And then I've been letting that go. If I don't know, I don't need to know. I will know when I need to know, without fail. And I have 100% confidence. Sometimes it's quicker than others, but that's the process. So again, how do I share accumulated wisdom? And there's truly one way. Truly only one way. By example, by living it, right? Don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do. Listen to what they do, if that makes sense to you. Watch them when the world seems to be against them. Watch them when they're losing, in the parlance of gain and loss. Then you can begin to ascertain. Then you can begin to determine if indeed they're the ones to share their wisdom with you. Be picky. Question. Question, question, question. Question authority. Question structure. Question tradition. Question your parents. Question your society. And most importantly, question yourself until there's a time which will come of no more questions. The questioning process has been exhausted. So it's by your state of being, and what I like to take it one step farther and call it ease of being. Do people feel at ease when they're around you? This is what I work on, to put people at ease by being an example of ease. And this comes about by all the things that I just listed, and most importantly, embracing your ordinariness. No fears. No fears whatsoever. And the next step is, I say non-reverential ease of being. Don't expect to be revered. It's better to be overlooked than revered. Revered is to put you in a that's why they cloister, that's why they wear robes, and that's why they have certain accoutrements. They say, oh, I'm a guru, I'm a teacher. Well, you're only a teacher if some student deems you to have something useful to share. So remember, non-reverential ease of being.